Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have something very cool to take a look at today, and this review is actually going to be made possible thanks to a viewer here of the channel. If you've noticed him in the comments section, this model was actually sent to me to get painted for Stardust here on YouTube, who you probably frequently see in the comments section, a dedicated viewer of the channel, and he had asked me if I could paint up his Tsukuda Hobbies 1/6 scale Lost World Jurassic Park Velociraptor for him, and obviously give it the Lost World Jurassic Park paint scheme. And I did just that, and I thought that since I don't actually have this model, and the chances of me getting this model are pretty slim, that I would just go ahead and review it while it was here, and give you guys the opportunity to check it out, and maybe decide if it's something you want to pursue, because this is actually a very long, retired, and very hard to find at times model of a Lost World Jurassic Park Velociraptor. However, they are usually fairly readily available on eBay, but the prices are pretty much through the roof as far as this model goes. So it's definitely something that you would have to pay a pretty penny for if you are interested, so I figured this review might help you decide if you are willing to fork out that much money to purchase a Velociraptor like this. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get a closer look right now. So being a 1/6 scale Velociraptor straight away, a 1/6 scale Jurassic Park style Velociraptor, straight away you know you are going to be getting a very sizable model. If this were, of course, an accurately sized Velociraptor, a 1/6 scale raptor wouldn't be very large, but considering this is a Jurassic Park raptor, it's a much larger version than you would get otherwise. But you can see that as well as being quite large, it sports a gorgeous sculpt, really nicely replicating that Lost World Jurassic Park style Velociraptor, and also giving you just about as incredibly highly detailed of a sculpt as you could possibly find. As you can see in the head sculpt of the raptor, there is just incredible skin texture everywhere throughout this model, and you can also see some beautiful detailing there around the eye. The actual skin wrinkles and skin folds and stuff there all around the eye are beautifully done. Now again, this is a model that I personally have painted, so the paintwork isn't exactly what you would see if you got your very own from eBay, but the only areas that I personally did not paint were the eye and the inside of the mouth, and like the skin flap here on the side of the mouth and stuff. Like, I had nothing to do with that, but the paintwork everywhere else was done by me. You can see the nostrils sculpted out up here on the tip of the snout, and the detailing here of the raptor is actually really nice as far as like applying washes and stuff, because the detail is just beautiful and vibrant on the model. So it's definitely a really nice one to paint. It really allows a lot of depth to your paint application without actually using like an airbrush or anything. Like, I painted all of this by hand and used quite a bit of like dry brushing techniques and stuff like that. There was no airbrush work applied to this at all, so for it to turn out as nice as it did, which I think it actually looks pretty decent, it's quite impressive and says a lot about just how nice the sculpt is, I would say. As you start to lead down along the neck, you could see some really nice skin texture, nice scale detail popping up here and there. You can also see lots of really nice wrinkles and creases in the neck region of the raptor, as well as down here on the underside. You can see the throat is nicely present and beautifully detailed. Again, I'm probably not going to have a very nice and easy time reviewing this because the model is huge, so it's really hard to kind of, maneuver around here in my review station. So you'll just have to bear with me while I do review this. But again, the texturing and everything down the course of the neck is gorgeous. As you reach down here into the lower part of the neck, you can see some more really nice creasing going on right there. You can also see the throat running down the course of the neck. The detailing up here on the top of the raptor is also really quite beautifully done. As you lead down here into the body and you get to the arm sculpt looks great. Very nice muscle tone displayed in the arm sculpt, and it's nice and slender and long like you see on the raptors in the film. And the actual texturing and everything looks great. Now I'm going to try to get a shot here of the hands, but again, it's kind of hard to do with such a huge model. But you can see the hands look really nice, again, just like they look in pretty much every Jurassic film. Very nice, sharp-looking nails. I'll turn it again, try to get a better shot here of the side. See, the nails look like they're fairly sharp and everything, so definitely a very nice and very lifelike looking sculpt to the model. You can see the stomach region also sports some more incredible skin texture, as well as some nice skin wrinkles and skin folds and stuff. And like you can see the skin stretching off of the body. The raptor is not in any type of like a crazy dramatic position. Like it's almost just standing completely in a neutral position, as the legs are only very slightly different as far as the positioning goes. So you don't see any type of like crazy drastic movement shown within the sculpt of the raptor, but basically what you do see is the movement that is currently happening here on the raptor is actually really nicely displayed in the sculpt, so there's just not really too much to show off, but it definitely looks really quite nice. And again, that skin texture is gorgeous there in the stomach region. You can also see some more like skin wrinkles and stuff as you lead up here, as far as like the hip and the movement shown right there. Beautiful muscle tone displayed in the thigh back here of the leg. You can also see the hip bone a little bit right up here on the top, and the spinal column running along the back of our raptor, as well as like some osteoderms and stuff poking up here and there. As you move down into the leg, you can see the calf muscle is very nicely displayed in the sculpt. You can also see that as we continue to move down the leg, the foot sculpt is gorgeous. Beautiful sickle claw down there. Of course, you have all of the claws, including the dew claw, and they all look great. And the actual detailing of the claws themselves are really impressive also. You can see that every ounce of detail is sculpted out beautifully on the claws. Impressively well done, specifically in the claws. Like, that's really gorgeous work. And then as you lead back up here into the tail, you can see some more skin stretching off of the tail there. Again, showing off some of the movement. The tail is uber long, like you would expect it to be. As you can see, as we run out the length of the tail, that tail is definitely very, very long as you lead out to that tip. It's in a very nice straight position. There's not really too much going on with it. It does curve downward a little bit when you get to the tip out here, but for the most part, it's a pretty solid straight out positioning. Now on the opposing side, you're really not going to see much difference, honestly, compared to what you had just seen on the initial side, especially when it comes to the head, because if you look at the head, like, it is pretty much just straightforward. There's not really any type of crazy positioning with the head. Again, the model is almost in a neutral position. The inside of the mouth, if I can get in here to look at it, you can see there is a tongue present in there. Actually, let me turn it around here. I should have probably shown this off initially, but there is a tongue present in there. You can see the gum line and everything. The teeth are all sculpted out really nice, and you can also see the same deal for up here on the top of the mouth. The teeth are all sculpted beautifully. They actually go into the gums like the way real teeth would, so it's very impressive as far as how beautiful that is. And there's also some nice looking detail there on the upper side of the inside of the mouth as well. So the mouth does look really quite nice, just like the rest of the raptor does. But again, going back to the head sculpt on this side, you're not going to see much difference on this side compared to what you had seen on the previous side. You can see that again, the detailing aspect is gorgeous on both sides, especially when you look here at the lower jaw. You could really see how beautiful that texturing of the skin is, and then as you get closer to like the mouth area, you can see a really nice scaling pop up. It looks really, really beautiful, and you can see, again, some more of that like skin here in the throat region, just generally like the throat nicely defined. Same style detail over here as far as the neck, because again, it's not in any type of a different dramatic positioning here on this side compared to the previous side. The arms are slightly different as far as the positioning goes, but once again, not drastic enough to create a very large difference. You can see the hands look great over here, just like the hand did on the previous side. Nice scoots down the course of the fingers of our raptor. And again, they have that very thin, very creepy looking arm to them, very alien-like, I would say. And then as you lead back up here into the stomach region, you can see a little less of the stomach because the leg here on this side is pushing forward ever so slightly in comparison to the opposing leg. So you can see how the skin is kind of like bunching up a little bit more so over here on this side in comparison to what we had seen on the previous side, but again, not a drastic difference, just a little bit. But you can also see the skin texture again looks great. You can see some skin reacting right here and right here as far as like the positioning of the arm and the leg. You can also again see the hip bone over here, and then the really nice muscle definition in both the thigh and calf region. Again, gorgeous skin detail throughout the entire figure. Nice creasing here in the joint of the knee. The kneecap is present right there, and then we lead down into that foot sculpt, and you can really see just how beautiful the foot sculpt looks. Really nice scoots down the course of the toes, gorgeous scale detail all throughout the foot, and the toes in general look really nice, and the nails again are about as highly detailed as you could possibly get as far as nails go. And then you lead back up into the tail. You can kind of see the skin stretching off of the tail right there. And then you lead out the length of the tail. Again, we have that really nice, very long, very straight until we reach the end, as we have a little bit of a curve to the tail right there. Gorgeous looking tail on this raptor. And then the underside as well sports a beautiful appearance as far as the actual detailing goes. It even appears as though we have like a cloaca down here on the underside, which is really interesting to see. And if we could try to maneuver this past the camera without the feet kicking it, you can see how incredibly nice the skin detail is here on the underside of the raptor the entire way through, even including up here on the lower jaw. So this Tsukuda Hobbies Velociraptor, Lost World Jurassic Park Velociraptor, is an incredibly beautiful model, and most definitely the best looking Lost World Jurassic Park Velociraptor that I've ever seen. Now the model does actually come with a stand. You can see a metal stand right there that is currently holding the raptor up. And that's probably the only true downside that I can find with this model, is the fact that it does not balance on its feet, which is something that's very common for this style of a model. If you happen to have the Horizon 1/6 scale Velociraptor, which is a very similar size and appearance to this one, you'll definitely know that that one, or at least mine anyway, does not stand very well either. So it's probably something with the fact that it's a bipedal dinosaur and a very impressively large model, so you usually need some sort of a support system to hold the model up, and that's definitely holding true here with this Tsukuda Hobbies Velociraptor, because I could not get it to stand at all without this kind of a rod here holding it up to stand, unless, of course, I leaned it against something like I had done at the very beginning of this review. But other than that, again, the standing and balancing issues are not very good unless you have the stand to go with it. Now, as far as actually getting a size on the Raptor, it's far too large for me to actually get a good solid shot of the entire model. So I'm just going to measure here, and I'll bring the tape measure up here to where the camera can't see it. So you're looking at about 31 inches pretty much right there, and about the 79 or 78.5 centimeter range, somewhere in that vicinity for a length. And then as far as a height goes, about 12 3/4 inches, or about 32, maybe 32.5 centimeters, somewhere in that range. So a very large model. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon in comparison to our 1/6 scale Tsukuda Hobbies Velociraptor here, the Lost World Jurassic Park style Velociraptor. And you can quite clearly see that the size is very drastically different in comparison to this Velociraptor, in comparison to the Mattel figures in the Papo Rex. The Raptor completely towers over all of them, just totally huge in every way. Again, impressive to say the least as far as the size of this model goes. And then if you happen to have a Horizon Velociraptor, here is my Horizon Velociraptor, currently in the midst of a total overhaul as I was redoing the model completely, as my previous paint job that I had done on it quite a few years back looked pretty horrendous, and it still doesn't look very good as I was touching it up, but I don't really have too much time to work on it. But you can see again, size-wise, how large both of these models are in comparison to each other, but just how incredible they honestly look together. Super nice looking models on the part of both the Horizon and Tsukuda Hobbies version, but I actually think the Tsukuda Hobbies version is a bit nicer than the Horizon version, but both very impressive. Just the Tsukuda Hobbies one, I think, is a little bit larger and just generally looks a little nicer. So this Tsukuda Hobbies Lost World Jurassic Park 1/6 scale Velociraptor is just a magnificent model overall. Like, the entire appearance to it is so impressive in person. Like, it's really the type of model that catches your attention instantly when you walk into the room that it is held within, and you just, right away, you'll take notice of it because it's so big and it's so beautifully sculpted. And then once you add a little paint application to it, as far as like a realistic paint application, like, I really think it just stands out so wonderfully. Again, the detailing aspect of this Raptor is as highly detailed as it gets. It looks like it came straight off of Isla Sorna, straight into my review station. It is that beautifully detailed. The skin texture is incredible throughout the entire model. It holds every ounce of detail that you would expect to find, whether it's the ears, the nose, beautiful detailing inside the mouth, and even, as we had pointed out in my closer look, the cloaca is present on this Raptor. So again, sporting every ounce of realistic detail that you would expect to find, but also a really nice screen accurate appearance to the Raptor on top of everything. So that is always very important when creating something that is meant to resemble a dinosaur from a film. You want it to be as screen accurate as possible. That's exactly what you'll find here with this Tsukuda Hobbies Velociraptor. I'm actually pretty sure that the original Stan Winston model was used to create this, so that would explain why it's so screen accurate. I'm not too familiar with the model prior to this, so I don't know if the original came with paint on it or not, but this again, paint-wise, is what I have applied to it to paint it up for him, so yours would come probably however you see it on eBay, because again, you're not going to pick this up most likely in any type of a store unless you have some kind of like a secondhand store that's lucky enough to have one. And like I had stated earlier, the prices of the Raptor are pretty much through the roof at this point because of its rarity. But hopefully the paint application that I have applied to this here for Stardust will show you that the model overall is gorgeous looking and very, again, accurate to the Lost World Jurassic Park. And of course, the only real downside to the model is its standing issues. It does not stand very nicely at all, and that is where the metal stand comes into play, where it does help it stand and hold it up, which does take away a little bit from the model, but honestly not enough that I would say would be some sort of a deal breaker, because I still feel like the entire model is so unbelievably impressive in person that even with the standing issues and the usage of that rod to hold it up, it's still without question worth a purchase if you can find it for a reasonable price. I know if I ever encounter one for a decent price, I will definitely pick it up and add it to my collection, that's for sure, after actually seeing it here in hand and in person. So I will do my best to find the cheapest link possible on eBay to add in the description for anyone interested in buying one, but again, be prepared for a pretty hefty price regardless. So make sure you check the link in the description, buy this if you are interested in picking one up, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.